Hello, beautiful woman and entrepreneur. It is Blairiana here, and welcome to another episode of the Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. This is episode 3, so all the show notes as well as any links that I share will of course be at blairiana.com/3. Today we're going to be talking about something that I love to talk about, and it is our feminine power. More specifically, our feminine superpower, and how there is an untapped wisdom in you that is holding the secrets to your business success, and how you can align with this ancient feminine wisdom to maximize your productivity, connect more deeply with your clients, and create some serious momentum in your business, all with ease, flow, and grace. So I hope you're as excited as I am, because I passionately believe every single woman, entrepreneur or not, needs access to this information in order to thrive as her full, vibrant, and most embodied self. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast, the place to be for your weekly fix of divine feminine wisdom, empowered business mindset, and practical spirituality to help you break free from the hustle, find your flow, and grow your online business on your own terms, the feminine way. I'm your host, Blairiana, and it is time to get aligned. So I believe we can't have an open or even actually entirely useful discussion around what it means to thrive as a woman in business without first addressing the reality of what it means to be a woman and how these realities impact business. In my opinion, to leave this information out is to simply have half of a conversation that is only going to produce half of the potential results and growth in your business. Because the reality is, you were a woman long before you were an entrepreneur. But so many of us forget this, and we become so busy being busy and lost in the day-to-day of running and growing our businesses that we shut down our own feminine wisdom, our own internal knowing, and the untapped extraordinary potential that lives inside of every one of us. And just in case you haven't figured it out yet, I'm talking about periods. Well, actually, I'm talking about the entire cycle. Now, if you think this doesn't apply to you, it does. It definitely does. So definitely stick with me for this episode. From the time of puberty until your death, you have a hormonal cycle. Even if you're currently using a contraceptive designed to artificially regulate or halt your cycle, and even if your period is irregular or complicated by health issues such as endometriosis or polycystic ovarian syndrome, and even if you've had surgery to remove part of your reproductive system, and even if you're currently or have already moved through menopause, this still applies to you. Because the thing is, having a physical period is the most obvious sign of your cycle, but it's not the cycle itself. Your cycle is controlled by your hormones, with having a period only being the physical representation of an internal cyclical process that all women experience. So from puberty up until death, all women have a constant hormonal cycle, though the symptoms vary from obvious waves during our childbearing years to gentle ebbs and flows that tend to be drawn out over a longer period of time, particularly as we transition into our wise woman years of menopause. So considering just how much of your life is impacted by your cycle, it's imperative to understand the beautiful ebbs and flows of your feminine energy and how living in alignment with the rhythmic cyclical nature of being a woman influences all areas of your life, from love to business. It impacts the amount of intimacy, connection, independence, and fulfillment you experience in your personal life, as well as your focus, productivity, confidence, and even your manifesting abilities as an entrepreneur. So in this episode, I want to introduce you to your cycle, how it relates to you as a business owner, and what you can do to bring more ease, flow, and grace into your business. And yes, that was a definite pun on the word flow. I'm sorry, if you want the info, you got to get ready for some puns. Now, this is something I really go deep on with my clients. So in an attempt to avoid this being a 4-hour-long episode, I want to give you an overview of your cycle to open up your awareness and start the conversation. Because I know that this information is entirely new to the vast majority of women. And so odds are this may be your first time hearing it. And that's okay. You can go back and listen to this episode as many times as you want, and you can read the show notes that contain the transcript of this episode. The information is here for you to go over and refer to as you need it. So as women, we experience 4 seasons in our menstrual cycle: winter, spring, summer, and autumn. You may have also heard of these as being the reflective phase, the dynamic phase, the expressive phase, and the creative phase respectively. Or you may have heard these referred to by their more scientific names, being menstrual, follicular, ovulation, and luteal. Now, I'm not wanting to confuse you by throwing a bunch of terms at you, but I want to give you all the variations so you can use whichever most resonate with you. So for myself, I love referring to the phases as winter, spring, summer, and autumn. That feels the most good for me, and I really love the kind of integrated, connected feeling of it, as opposed to using more scientific terms, so I will be referring to the seasons from here on out. And to also give you a sense of how I use the wisdom of the cycle and help my clients apply it to their own businesses. Because in my own business, I teach the cycle from a spiritual and practical perspective. So if you're keen on diving into the hormonal side specifically and talking about things like cervix positioning, hormonal balancing, and addressing the cycle from a health and scientific perspective, you might want to go look up someone who talks about that. But if you want to understand how to use the energetics of your feminine rhythm so you can ditch the stress, hustle, and burnout by increasing your productivity, creating serious consistency, and getting into a state of flow in your life and business, then how I teach this and apply it to business might just be right up your alley. Okay, so let's get to talking about your cycle so you can get a sense of how this comes together. Winter is from day 1 to 6 and is characterized by the arrival of your physical period. Winter is then followed by spring from day 7 to 13, then ovulation from 14 to 20, then autumn from day 21 until the first day of winter with the arrival of your period, where the whole cycle begins again. Now, of course, every woman is different, so your seasons may not directly line up with these time frames, as they're based on a typical 28-day cycle. So depending on how regular your cycle is, you may notice variations, so it's important to apply this information to you and your own unique rhythm rather than trying to force your body to fit into these external parameters. So they are the 4 phases, and each phase has its own strength in business and a collective of optimized actions that you can be taking to consistently grow your business and keep yourself moving forward, which can help you to completely bypass the overwhelm that tends to crop up in business. Often when we try to do things that aren't an exact match for that phase and that aren't in alignment with where our energy is at the time. Now, from a hormonal and energetic perspective, your cycle actually begins on around day 6 or 7 on the first day of spring, which is when your hormones begin to climb after their lull during winter. But to simplify the cycle for you, especially in the early stages of becoming aware of the seasons, learning how your cycle works, and coming to know how they manifest for you emotionally, mentally, physically, and energetically, let's just start exploring the cycle at its most obvious physical stage, being in winter on the first day of your bleed. So winter is your reflective phase, and it's the time when you're at your most internal and introverted. You feel your whole energy moving inward and your whole focus going into your internal world. Your hormones are at their lowest, and you're naturally more introverted and introspective. It's also the time when the veil between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is at its thinnest, so our access to subconscious information is at its most pronounced. That's when we have the most intuitive insights in business and life, but it's important to create space to receive those intuitive hits by giving yourself time to rest. This is a feeling phase, so it's a perfect time for asking the big questions and getting clarity on your why, your business direction, and really tuning in to make sure that your current trajectory is in alignment with your values and the big vision for your life and business. And to also help you feel into the best way to correct your course if something in your business feels a bit off. It's the phase to emotionally and energetically commit to any changes you wish to create in your life, but it is not the time for action. Resist the urge to be taking action during this phase. That time will come, but not when your body and soul is needing rest and reflection, which can make it a big teacher in patience, especially if you're a real go-getter who struggles to find her and off switch. So it can be hard to do, but giving yourself 1 or 2 days of complete rest during the beginning of your period can seriously change your life and your business, and I'm speaking from experience. Taking rest during this time replenishes your emotional and energetic resources, so you can feel more sustained throughout the coming month rather than pushing through and burning out because you entered the new cycle with the exact same amount of depleted energy you finished the last one with. Which is why as a female entrepreneur, it is so incredibly important to know how to work with your own rhythms and plan in alignment with those rhythms, so you're not derailing your business momentum or sabotaging your success by doing the right thing at the completely wrong time. And then we have the next phase, which is spring, day 7 to 13. This is where you literally feel like you're coming back from the dead and you are coming out of the deep hibernation of winter Your energy, confidence, and your optimism begins to climb and is at its natural peak at this point in the cycle. I like to think of it as the Energizer Bunny mode. This is also the phase where our thinking is at its most linear and sequential, so it's a perfect time for logical thinking and planning, as well as learning and implementing new things in your business. So looking at all of those tasks that would have seemed confusing or impossible to you in previous weeks, they now seem to click and naturally fall into place. It's also the time to begin to take action on the insights that you gained during winter and plan your month ahead so that you can keep yourself on track and moving towards your goals. The next phase of the cycle is from day 14 to 20, which is summer. This is a delicious time for us women, and this phase often represents the quintessential picture of womanhood and femininity that society unfortunately portrays and compares us to as the standard. Because again, the wisdom of the cycle is not common knowledge, and so we as women feel pressure to be constantly loving, constantly giving, and always turned on in life and business, which are all characteristic of this phase. But it's just that, a phase. You're not designed to be one way all the time, no matter how much the media and society tells us we should be. It's not possible to be one way all the time, and you shouldn't feel the pressure to be. So this is a phase where we are all about people, emotional intimacy, and connection. Think of this phase as embodying the mother energy. We're more compassionate, empathetic, and intuitively connected to those around us. This is also the time where our verbal and social skills are at their peak, and we are at our most articulate and effortlessly social. So it's a perfect time for recording videos or podcasts or being interviewed or running live events or workshops. The next phase of the cycle is autumn from day 21 to 28 or until your period starts. Despite many women dreading this part of their cycle, autumn is actually a magical time for creativity and inspired thinking and creative problem solving. This is the time of the month where it's a good idea to have a notebook handy so you can quickly write down any ideas or creative solutions that drop in for you before they quickly disappear in the midst of scattered thinking and mind fog. This is the time where you're going to have brilliant insights on your business, but you really need to capture them quickly because they don't stick around for long. This is also the time where you'll feel a compulsion to nest and declutter. So in those times where you're feeling flat or too scattered to focus, which is also quite natural during this time, channel that energy into decluttering your office, doing your filing, or catching up on those single-pointed repetitive tasks that don't require too much brain power. This is a time where I really love to do my filing and get myself organized. And of course, self-care is essential at all points in the cycle, but this is especially true for autumn. Really love and nurture yourself and go gently, not only in life in general, but for yourself especially, because we can be quite critical of ourselves and others during this time. Autumn can often be a difficult time for many women, as it's often characterized by PMS symptoms such as overwhelm, brain fog, fatigue, anger, emotional outbursts, wanting to set entire villages on fire, doubting everything in your business, and just generally feeling unable to cope. I will say though that PMS is not actually a natural part of the cycle. Unfortunately, PMS is common, but it's not normal. In our culture, we tend to think of PMS as being a given, an inescapable part of being a woman. However, this is simply not true. Studies have shown that in Eastern cultures, PMS is rarely documented, if documented at all, and it's only Western women that have widespread experience of PMS. And in my humble opinion, I believe this is largely because our masculine Western societal structure glorifies the hustle, glorifies struggle, and fosters an addiction to being busy, and demands that women be the same way all the time. Just take the traditional 9-to-5 working structure, for example, where we're expected to perform to the same capacity Monday to Friday, week after week. So the messaging from our culture puts pressure on women to force ourselves to try to meet an ideal that we fundamentally cannot achieve because it was never designed with our feminine energy and feminine realities in mind. Sadly, in our culture, the feminine has largely been suppressed or ignored, and thankfully, this is changing. There's a massive shift going on at the moment with the rising of the feminine energy on the planet, but our recent history and much of our societal structures have been rooted in the masculine paradigm, and there are still a lot of taboos around the topics that greatly impact women, such as periods, where we haven't readily had access to the information we need to help us thrive in all areas of our lives, from mother to lover to business owner. And so periods are seen as something a woman just needs to push through in order to continue being productive, successful, and useful. And we get lost in our heads, we shut down our hearts, and we disconnect from our intuitive wisdom and the feeling and emotion-based language of our bodies. The truly tragic part is that in our quest to be successful in business, we're actually ignoring the feminine gifts we naturally have access to that get us to our goals a whole lot quicker and with a whole lot less struggle. So as a female entrepreneur, there is incredible power in understanding your own rhythms and giving yourself permission to stop trying to play at business like a man. It doesn't work. Not for you, not for your business, not for your clients, and certainly not for your sanity. Honoring your own feminine power and channeling that inner wisdom into your business, that's how you get into flow as an entrepreneur. That's how you get to be aligned so you can create more magic in your business and as a result, have more magic come towards you in the form of more money, more clients, more opportunities, and just more joy in what you're doing. So it doesn't have to feel like a struggle or a burden to be a woman in business. You can actually enjoy yourself. So stop being busy for the sake of being busy. Often in our businesses, we're looking at strategy through the wrong lens. We think of it as something external to us that we need to do, build, or implement. And of course this is true and is an essential part of growing and scaling a business, but strategy alone is not enough, not when you're a woman. When it comes to embodied business and thriving as a female entrepreneur, the key strategy you need to be looking at is your own inner strategy. Not just your mindset, but understanding how to work with your own feminine rhythm and shape your external strategies to be in alignment with your own internal realities. So you're not in a position of doing the right thing at the wrong time in your business where you get overwhelmed, stressed out, and begin to doubt if you can actually achieve the goals and dreams that you're here to achieve. Because you can. You absolutely can. It's just a matter of working in alignment with your own internal strengths to enhance your external results. So stop doing what everyone else is telling you to do in the way that they think that you should be doing it and get more in tune with your own sacred wisdom of your body and the subtle expressions of your feminine energy and let that be your guiding force. So you're doing the right thing at the right time in your business in a way that is right for you, your own unique way, so that you can begin to create your own unique path to business success. And there you have it, the 4 phases of your feminine energy and how it applies to your business. So you can begin to get more savvy with your business strategy, more productive in your work, and most importantly, more connected to yourself on your entrepreneurial journey. So you can thrive as a woman, find your flow, and grow your business with grace. Now remember, you can find all the show notes for this episode over at blairiana.com/3, and you'll also find a little graphic giving you a visual of the 4 seasons for you to refer back to. And if you found this episode helpful, I invite you to come over to my free private Facebook group where we leave taboo, comparison, and scarcity at the door and talk about all the things that truly matter to female entrepreneurs and dive deeper into the topics I talk about on this podcast, which of course includes chatting about our cycles. Simply visit blairiana.com/group and request to join. And when you become a member, you can also have access to my calendar where if it calls to you, you can book in for a 15-minute chat and we can talk about what is blocking you from bringing your feminine rhythms into true alignment with your business and thriving in the way that you deserve. And as always, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. And until next time, I'm Blairiana and I cannot wait to see you shine your light in the way that only you can. Bye for now.